Venom 3 has been released, presenting the final adventure of the symbiote alongside Eddie Brock. But what does the ending mean? What happened in the post-credits scenes? And will we see Venom again? These are questions we'll answer. Today on Charlietales, we'll analyze Venom 3, explain the movie's ending, and look at what the future holds for the saga. Ready? Let's go! Venom 3 tells the story of Eddie Brock's last adventure with the symbiote. This time they are hunted by two threats. First, the government, since Eddie Brock is blamed for the deaths in the previous movie. And far off in space, they introduce a villain named Null, the god of the symbiotes. This being is locked in a cage and needs something Venom possesses to escape. Specifically, our heroes possess something called the Codex. This element is created when a symbiote saves its host's life and revives them from death. Venom created the Codex when he revived Eddie in the first movie. Null needs this Codex. Fortunately, the villain can't reach Earth, but he does send giant monsters to capture them. These invincible creatures become the main enemy in the story. That's the movie's summary. With that context, let's move to the ending. The final battle takes place in Area 55, a hidden location beneath the iconic Area 51. Here, scientists store various samples of symbiotes, but all are released when the monsters arrive to capture Venom. The movie introduces us to multiple symbiotes in various colors, but even they are not enough to defeat the creatures. All of them perish, leaving only Venom alive. The movie ends with Venom sacrificing himself to save Eddie. Venom absorbs the creatures and dies along with them to defeat them. What happened to the Codex? The movie established that the Codex only exists if both Venom and Eddie are alive. If one of them dies, the Codex disappears. Therefore, the Codex died with Venom. The final scene shows Eddie Brock back in New York. The government has pardoned all his crimes and restored his life. Eddie has lost Venom, but clearly states that he will never forget him. And that's how the movie ends. Now let's dive into the explanations. Let's talk about the post-credit scenes. The first scene shows Null's prison. He knows he lost against Venom, but he still vows revenge and promises to destroy Earth and the entire universe in his path. The scene is pretty clear. Null is presented as the ultimate villain in Sony's universe. Remember, Sony is now building a cinematic universe with Spider-Man villains. This includes Venom, Morbius, and the upcoming Kraven movie. It all indicates that Null will be the Thanos of this universe, a major threat forcing all villains to unite. But who is Null? Basically, he's the king of the symbiotes. This being has existed since the creation of the universe. When life emerged, his symbiote children imprisoned him to prevent him from destroying everything. In the comics, Null is an extremely powerful entity, and not only is he an enemy of Venom, but many heroes must unite to defeat him. Null is the main villain of an event called King in Black. Here, the help of the Fantastic Four and the Avengers was needed. Only with everyone's help could they stop Null. Be clear that Null is a universal threat, and could even become a multiverse-level threat. If Marvel wanted, they could make a deal with Sony to bring this character into the MCU and use him as a major villain for the heroes currently active. It's evident Null will escape his prison, as the promise in the post-credits scene is clear. Now let's move to the second post-credits scene, which is also interesting. In it, we see the bartender from the beginning of the movie. Remember, he was captured by the military and locked up in Area 55. Here we see him emerging from the rubble, looking for help. But the most important detail is the sight of a cockroach near a broken jar. This container is the same one the military used to capture a fragment of Venom in the bar. The broken container tells us that this part of Venom managed to escape. Obviously, this scene implies that Venom is still alive and can return thanks to this small fragment. This is clearly not the end for Venom. Let's address the big question. Will there be a Venom 4? The end of the latest movie makes it clear that a fourth movie could indeed be made. The post-credit scene confirmed that Venom survived, and the villain Null was left as a promise for the future. So in terms of story, a continuation would be very logical. But officially Venom 4 is not confirmed. Sony has not declared any intentions of making more Venom movies. They are likely waiting to see the box office results of Venom 3 before deciding on future plans. We must remember that Sony is currently building a cinematic universe with Spider-Man villains. With this context, the villain Null is not limited to appearing only in a future Venom movie. Null is a Thanos-level villain, a universal threat. Therefore, Sony could use this character as a major antagonist for its universe, even without making a new Venom movie. What's more, they don't even need a new Venom movie to bring the symbiote back. We know Venom survived, so they could easily bring the character into crossovers with their other villains. This would be similar to what happened with Tony Stark in Marvel. There were only 3 Iron Man movies, but his character continued to appear in many crossovers. The same could happen with Venom, even if there isn't a 4th movie. Let's move to another question. Will we see the return of Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock? The reality is that both director Kelly Marcel and Tom Hardy have stated in interviews that this was Eddie Brock's final movie. So officially, there are no plans to continue with Tom Hardy. It's quite clear that the actor is interested in moving on to other roles. However, Tom Hardy has also stated that he would love to return if the opportunity arose to fight Spider-Man. He has said he would come back immediately if given that option. With this context, it's clear that there won't be a Venom 4 with Tom Hardy unless they bring Spider-Man into the equation. It's similar to what happened with Hugh Jackman, who retired from Wolverine but returned for Deadpool 3. Even without Tom Hardy, Venom has other options for a comeback. In the comics, Eddie Brock has not been the only symbiote host. Other well-known characters include Flash Thompson, Peter Parker's former bully. This character used Venom for a significant period and adopted the name Agent Venom. So Sony has options in case Tom Hardy can't or doesn't want to return. To be honest, Sony's situation is complicated. They're committed to making movies about Spider-Man villains, but without Spider-Man. Almost all of these projects have flopped at the box office and in reviews. Morbius and Madame Web were humiliating failures, and they certainly won't have sequels. The Venom movies have been the only box office successes. With all this context, it's clear that Sony's universe is a mess, and even they probably don't know what the future holds. Before I go, I want to discuss the movie's message a little. Venom: The Last Dance is not a movie about the multiverse, nor about a great villain from space. The truth is, this story centers on the relationship between Venom and Eddie. That's why it's called The Last Dance. The whole movie focuses on how both characters face this final adventure and prepare to say goodbye. At the beginning, we see several moments where Venom clings to the idea of staying with Eddie. Neither of them wanted to part ways, but as the story progresses, they realize they are ready to move on. For example, there's a scene where they travel with a family, and Eddie truly connects with them. In this scene, Venom realizes that Eddie could be happy with a family of his own. Because of this, Venom willingly sacrifices his life to give Eddie that chance. The entire story is based on this farewell. That's probably why we didn't see much of the villain Null. Strangely, Sony decided not to end Venom's story with a big epic final battle, but instead showed us that the real battle took place in the hearts of both characters, who are forced to end their journey and leave each other behind. That's all for today. If you liked the video, you'd really help me out by leaving a like. That would be legendary. Also, remember to subscribe to see more videos like this. Thanks for listening. My name is Charlie, and I'll see you in the future.